Hi folks, Councillor Craig Buchanan here with a quick update on last night's council meeting. In an ideal world, the city would like us to wait until the minutes are out in the public domain before we make any comment, but since a number of you are already discussing various decisions across a range of online forums, I'm going to stick my neck on the line and give you my thoughts as best I can. Of course, the minutes remain the one true formal record of all votes taken and all decisions made, and you should refer to those before making any decisions based on the outcomes of this month's meeting. Planning turned out to be pretty straightforward, with all of the committee recommendations being approved. A number of the decisions will now go to JDAP for broader approval. I don't have a time frame for that process as it's pretty much out of our hands, but if you have queries, please feel free to pass them on to me, ideally by email. I'll monitor those developments that might be of interest, and I'll get back to you when I can with such news as we receive. The other thing that was passed to us by planning was consideration of the two motions brought by Dawn Jex and the HOP group to the annual meeting of electors in December. As I indicated beforehand, I proposed an alternate motion ahead of time because if we had approved the committee and the officers' recommendations as they stood, we would simply have noted the motions and declined to take any action on them. My motion, by comparison, reiterated the Council's commitment to making the whole of Cape Peron a Class A reserve, and it also instructed the CEO to write to the Premier and to the Planning Minister to convey the strength of public feeling exhibited at the electors' meeting. Now, I realise that's not as strong a resolution as Dawn and her colleagues would have liked, but I honestly felt it was the strongest one that we were likely to vote through on the night. And in the end, I believe the minutes will reflect that my alternate motion was approved unanimously. Hopefully that means that the strength of feeling that you shared with us as a council will now be shared, if only on paper, with those in a position to make a difference now that the planning process has begun. I reckon that's a halfway's win. And I hope that others join me in seeing it that way. We had less luck with verges, I'm afraid. As promised, both during the election campaign and more recently, I argued for what I considered to be a common sense policy that would have allowed for 100% coverage of verges with approved material, including synthetic lawn, but Councillor Buchan's motion to that effect was defeated 5 votes to 4. Now, obviously I'm disappointed, but I have to respect the decision of Council, and my gut says this issue will now have to rest for anywhere between 6 and 12 months before we can assess how well the current policy has settled and whether it needs to be reconsidered. You can trust us, we will keep an eye on that policy, but in the meantime, 50% coverage stands with the backing of Council. Councillor Buchan also questioned the use of money from the Global Friendship Fund to send participants over to the Masters competition due to take place in Japan in the coming weeks. I had some sympathy for her position, as we have a travel grants policy which on the face of it appeared to be at odds with what was being proposed on this occasion. However, during the debate it was pointed out that we also have a global friendship policy, and that includes specific reference to us sending sporting groups overseas where appropriate. So effectively what was being proposed last night was actually within the scope of one of our current policies, something I was unaware of before the debate, but on those grounds I supported the allocation of funds. What we didn't support, at least in the short term, was the proposed $10,000 donation to the Red Cross as part of their bushfire appeal. Councillor Edwards moved that we defer consideration of that item in the hope that the officers could provide us with some local alternatives, charities that work here in WA to provide bushfire support. As a result, that motion will come back to us, I presume, at our next council meeting in February. And that was it for the evening, or at least the highlights of it. We've got plenty of committee meetings to keep us busy in the coming weeks, as well as mandatory training, which many of the new councillors, myself included, are at least partway through now. If any of you have anything you want to raise with me, either from this meeting or anything that's coming up, or things that you simply have concerns about in the community, please feel free to email me, ideally at my council email address, which is cr.buchanan@rockingham.wa.gov.au. Or leave me a comment here on Facebook, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can.